Hello and welcome to this special edition and the special coverage coming your way from Nile TV International regarding the latest developments in the region, and more specifically today for Lebanon and the latest escalations and the violations of the ceasefire by the Israeli occupation forces against the innocent civilians in Lebanon, in different parts, in different villages, causing massive killings and evacuations for millions of residents in Lebanon in general, and more specifically for South Lebanon. And to be shedding more light on this important development and update, I'm honored to be having with me over the phone Dr. Nehal Fahmy, the Professor of Political Science. Dr. Nehal, thank you very much for being with us tonight on Nile TV International.
Hello, thank you.
Dr. Nehal, first of all, how do you see the latest escalation and the Israeli attacks and airstrikes against the south of Lebanon in specific, and of course for Lebanon in general, affecting the innocent civilians, killing tens of civilians every day and causing mass evacuations from different parts of the country?
Yes. The Israeli strikes on Lebanon are purely about Hezbollah, not Lebanon as a whole and not the civilians. And the scale looks harsh because how the conflict works in practice. So we have the core reason for the attacks is Hezbollah. Why Hezbollah? Because it is a powerful armed group in the southern of Lebanon, and of course it is very much backed by Iran. It is actually, Israel looks at Hezbollah as part of Iran's regional network. So the war is actually against Hezbollah because it has fired rockets and drones into northern Israel, and it has targeted its military sites and border towns of Israel. The question is, why are the strikes so intense? They are so intense because Hezbollah has dared to threaten Israel, and it has a large missile arsenal, tens of thousands, that Israel is trying to destroy and to kill its commanders and disrupt the supply routes of such missile arsenals.
Yes, Dr. Nehal, how do you see the international perception of the conflict, especially that, as you mentioned, Israel is targeting Hezbollah in the south of Lebanon, and we do know that it is being funded and supported by Iran. So this brings us to another conflict, another war in the region, in the Middle East, between the United States and Israel and Iran, as Hezbollah is an arm for Iran in the region, and more specifically for Lebanon. So how do you see the perception from the other international and the regional players for this specific conflict?
Actually, nobody cares about what is going on in Lebanon. We care about, the world actually cares about the Strait of Hormuz and the supply of oil and the prices of oil. What is going on in Lebanon is basically sometimes the concern of some nations like France because of the connections with Lebanon. I'm telling you about what is on the ground. We have to understand that what is going in Lebanon is basically to weaken Iran's regional influence in the region. The escalation in Lebanon will continue because we have now a ceasefire, though it is very fragile, between the U.S. and Iran, so Israel cannot dare to attack Iran because we have a ceasefire. So it is now indirectly attacking Iran through its regional arms in the region. Number one comes Lebanon and Hezbollah. That is the formula, that is the equation actually. Of course, this is causing so much damage in Lebanon because Hezbollah operates within civilian regions, towns and villages in southern Lebanon, and so we have strikes that hits homes, that hits the infrastructure, that hits the roads, that hits what kind of facilities that is needed by civilians in towns and cities actually. So the bottom line is it is hitting Lebanon hard because Hezbollah is actively attacking Israel.
Yes, on the other hand, how do you see the role of Egypt, as we have seen for the past, I would say, couple of months, to say the least, the support given by Egypt and the political leadership, not just for the GCC countries during the war between the US and Iran, but for Iraq and Lebanon as well. How do you see the importance of this support given by the political leadership of Egypt to the political leadership in Lebanon, especially during those tough times, and through means of having another ceasefire that could be standing between Israel and Hezbollah in the south of Lebanon?
Yeah. The role of Egypt has always been important, and mostly behind the scenes. Egypt has always been a stabilizer, a mediator, and a protector of its own interests as well. It is a mediator with a diplomatic bridge, actually, now, because it has been always a key in the regional conflicts. It keeps communication channels open with all parties, with Israel, with the Palestinian groups, with the Gulf countries, alongside with countries that, like Qatar, still negotiating ceasefires and preventing escalation. So we can say that Egypt still is the balancing power in the region, still is, and it can, but it is always behind the scenes, and it is much better to be kept behind the scenes till something materializes out of its role.
Yes, on the other hand, how do you see the international response to the latest updates and the violations of the ceasefire in Lebanon? Because we have had some conflicting and some divided responses from the international scene and arena regarding the latest updates in Lebanon.
As I told you, the international response is very weak, actually. And I can say that unfortunately, the United Nations, the international law, is actually living its most darkest decades in history nowadays. It has been split, cautious. The international response has been split, has been cautious, and been very interest-driven. Most countries are trying to do some kind of de-escalation, but they sometimes disagree on who to blame and what to do. I'm speaking about all parties, whether the Western countries like the U.S. allies, Europe. We have conflicting sometimes statements. We have the concerns is about the energy crisis, the refugee flows, actually. For example, but still the West is supporting Israel completely, and they fear escalation. For example, the position of Russia and China. Yes. They are criticizing the U.S. and the Israeli actions, but they position themselves as opposing Western interventions in the region. But again, the benefit is still from to be geopolitically to benefit from U.S. distraction. Actually, this is what they are trying to achieve. The major concern for China, for example, is to avoid any global economic shocks, all right? Whether this will be done through a better flow in the Strait of Hormuz, so they work on it. So actually everybody is working on their interests, which is not wrong, which is not bad, as long as we are achieving something. But we have to be aware of every party has their own interests, and they are trying to protect them. And by the way, the Gulf states are also they are quietly worried about Iran, but they don't want to open war near their borders at the same time. Sometimes they are reluctant because of the support of the U.S. security presence, but they are very careful. Qatar is playing a good role as an active mediator, and trying to open multiple channels with multiple parties on the whole. So we have the United Nations, for example, having repeated calls for ceasefire and humanitarian access and so on and so forth, but it cannot enforce much beyond diplomacy. So actually, I would say the international has to be interpreted in terms of who is saying what and what is this representing for their interests, actually.
Yes, and we do know that the conflict or the assaults by the Israeli occupation forces against Lebanese institutions and Lebanon in general, and as you mentioned, Doctor, the infrastructure related to Hezbollah and other members related to Hezbollah, it remains one of the sticking points in terms of the negotiations ongoing between the United States and Iran to be stopping the war in the region, in the Middle East. How do you see the fate of those proposals, those plans going back and forth between Iran and the United States, that the war in Lebanon should be stopping in order to be having a lasting ceasefire between the United States and Iran?
Okay. As you probably know, that the ceasefire has been there since early April. However, the U.S. forces remain deployed, and it is still enforcing a blockade against Iran. Right? As you also know that Iran has issued a 14-point proposal to end the war, right? But it demands that the sanctions are released, that U.S. withdrawal from the Strait of Hormuz, and some regional changes. However, cleverly enough, the proposal of Iran did not address its nuclear program, which is a key U.S. demand. So we have a game actually going on. We have a game, interestingly enough. And you know, the longer the ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran, the harsher Israel would hit Lebanon, because Israel wants to attack. It wants to attack Iran, but it is trying to show some respect to the U.S. that it is not attacking Iran, so it is attacking the most powerful arm of Iran in the region, which is Hezbollah. So the longer the ceasefire, which is actually a very fragile ceasefire, the harsher that Lebanon will be hit. This is the way I say it. The game between the U.S. and Iran, the best description for it is a chicken game. You know what's a chicken game?
No.
The chicken game, you used to see it in much of the Western movies.
Yes.
The chicken game is that when you have two trains facing each other and they are running at the maximum speed, and let us see who is the coward to stop first. This is a chicken game.
Yes, Dr. Nehal Fahmy, the Professor of Political Science, thank you very much for being with us tonight on Nile TV International. And we welcome our dear guest over the phone, Mr. Sharif Rizq, the political analyst. Thank you once again for joining us on Nile TV International and this special coverage and the special edition regarding the situation in Lebanon.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine. Thank you very much once again for being with us tonight on Nile TV International regarding the latest updates in Lebanon. How do you see the current situation and the violations by the Israeli airstrikes against South Lebanon and other installations in Lebanon in general, and specifically targeting the Hezbollah infrastructure and members, could be affecting the whole Middle East and the region at large, especially that we do know that having a ceasefire in Lebanon is one of the main sticking points for having an even bigger ceasefire and more permanent